and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Amen. Please take your seat. As I said earlier, the agenda is on page 2 and continues up to page number 3. We'll try to abridge most of these things so that we can save time. We have the agenda before you. We need to adopt it formally, and I'll hand the mic over to the chairman.
Thank you very much, Sobio Afolabi Solisi, FNIS, Secretary to the Board, for the introduction and the prayer set. We have the agenda here with us, and to be anybody got any amendment to this agenda as proposed here? The slide is not related. On that note, can we ask somebody to please move for the adoption of this agenda?
Sobio, I do a piece of it.
Wait for the microphone because
I just want to inform the table that the agenda is not readily available to everybody. It will be just in order if we can wait another 5 minutes for us to quickly have it and have a look. Thank you.
Okay. Is that okay? All right, we'll wait. Thank you very much. The conference bag is currently being distributed. But because we have lost time earlier, please make sure you sign the attendance register. And if you are not wearing the fellows lapel, pin and brooch, then I think this fine for the AGM will be 10,000, not 5,000. Somebody is going around to identify those who don't have. After paying the fine, when you are caught by a last line in Lagos, you pay fine and then you go and get your license again. Well, I think most people have now gotten this. I said most people, I don't say all. Okay. We are all together. Can we move on? Can we move on? There's no way we can satisfy because of the situation we find ourselves. This ought to have been with us. But we will make it up, ensuring that we save time for the items on the agenda. Thank you. So, will somebody now move for the adoption of this agenda? Where is the microphone? So many hands.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, of your Reverend Olaiwola Elizabeth Uladara, FNS, move the motion that we adopt the agenda for discussion for today's meeting. Thank you, sir.
Up with.
Adventurous, brainy, and courageous.
Supported by.
Mr. President, sir, I, Sylvia Festus Akintola Ogunleye, hereby support the motion that the agenda be adopted.
Well, thank you very much. The agenda haven't been adopted. We can now continue. Apologies. Apologies should have been tendered online. So we will not entertain anybody sending apologies now. So apologies have been taken. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the chairman's farewell speech. End of tenure. Thank you very much. Hello. Good afternoon, my dear fellows.
The chairman of the board, our president, Nigerian Institute of Surveyors, ESCO members seated there, past presidents, distinguished fellows. We had put that apologies on the agenda because maybe on account of time, it may not be appropriate to read to the House the names of those who sent in apologies. But it will be in order, at least, to let us have the number of those who sent in apologies. Otherwise, we are supposed to listen to names, but we may not have to do that now. We can just have the number of people that sent in apologies. Thank you.
chairman of the house. As at this moment, we have 20 names on the apology list. Thank you.
Thank you, Past President Oyebola, for the point of order that you have raised. It's another. Hello, there are some noises here and over there. Can we please switch off our phones or put them on silence? Thank you very much. Chairman's farewell address to the annual general meeting of the Board of Fellows of Nigerian Institute of Surveyors, holding at the International Conference Center, Opera Square, Independence Layout, Enugu, today, June 23rd, 2025. Preamble. Introduction. It is my honor and privilege to heartily welcome you all to this year's annual general AGM of the Board of Fellows, holding at the International Conference Center, Opera Square, Independence Layout, Enugu. We give glory to Almighty God, the creator of the universe and all that exists in it, for making this day a reality, for the privilege of life and the grace for us to assemble here for this year's Board of Fellows AGM, the very last for the current administration under my leadership. We are grateful, oh God, for all you have done for us, especially within the span of this administration. As we seek for guidance and inspiration in moving the board and our institution forward. On behalf of the Executive Committee of the DOF, I thank you all for the impressive attendance at this AGM and for your unalloyed support for our administration since inception. Embracing the transformational agenda and its implementation process. Let me acknowledge the worthy past presidents here present, especially those who are above the age, who are above 8-year-old, for their steadfastness and support for our administration. They continue to serve as a stabilizing factor and the bridge between the past and the present, hardly missing any of the functions of the board. Equally, I want to welcome and acknowledge the presence of our president, Sobel Olomola Ibitoye here, present. I stand before you today humbled by your support with immense pride and a profound sense of engagement with the board in the last 3 years as we commence the AGM of our esteemed DOF. I am deeply honored to have served the board at at this momentous time. I look forward to a more vibrant and focused board's administration that will work towards meeting the yearnings and aspirations of the board and promote the good name and image of our great institution. As we commence the closing of the third chapter of the board's administration, I urge you all to continue with the same zeal and enthusiasm in attending to the affairs of the board. The BOF and the institution are work in progress. The future is certainly very bright. In the remaining of this exit address, I will discuss some of the modest achievements of our administration, the challenges facing the board's administration, and some issues that have become clogs in the wheel of progress of our institution. Building the BOF superstructure. The board's step into the board's administration. During my inaugural address, some administrative lapses in the running of the NIS administration were identified and solutions proffered for them. We pledged to implement the proposed administrative changes in the running of the BOF first to influence the required changes in the mainstream NIS administration. We also opined that failure or maladministration of the institution is a failure of the BOF, since at least 60% of the institution's executive officers are drawn from the membership of the board. These informed the transformational agenda we set for our administration, and which we work assiduously towards its implementation. Dividend of the transformational agenda. With your support and encouragement, our administration has worked diligently to improve on the foundation laid by the two previous administrations, led by my worthy past president, and put in place very strong administrative structures, which we hope will ensure the smooth running, transparency, and accountability of future administration of the board. Some of the innovations introduced in the last 3 years include: 1, Finance and General Purpose Committee, whose chairman is elected outside the board ESCO for the purposes of transparency and judicious utilization of funds. 2, establishment of annual financial statement of accounts and external auditors report. 3, BOF lecture series, which we have had a number of them. 4, Research and Development Committee with specific functions. All these are in the management manual. Nomination and Good Governance Committee, Ethics and Disciplinary Committee, introduction of a full-fledged annual general meeting of the board, Introduction of gowns for fellows investiture ceremony. Review of BOF bylaws 2029 to BOF bylaws 2023 as amended. Purchase of chairman's chain of office and new lapel pin. Well, I'm wearing the chain now. This is not for Atilola, it's for the position of the chairman, and they will live as long as the institution BOF lives. Publication of BOF management manual, creation of a benevolent fund that makes all families to receive equal insurance benefits or on transition of members. Introduction of a transitions committee meeting for handing over and taking over. Introduction of corporate social responsibility, CSR, and implementation in 3 cities, viz. Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. Initiating of documentary on BOF activities to preserve institutional memory. Last but not the least, establishment of an administrative office for the board. A few of these will be discussed under Nomination and Good Governance Committee, NGGC. The NGGC is responsible for appraisal and evaluation of the board's administration, screening of members for elective offices, and nomination for awards to the board to deserving members. This year, the committee, having set up relevant guidelines, will be supervising the first formal election into executive committee of the board. Point 4. Introduction of transition committee meeting, stroke handing over and taking over. A transition committee has been introduced for the purpose of handing over and taking over. During this meeting, which will come up about the middle of July, there will be a handing over and taking over of reports from the outgoing executive to the new executive. Members of the NGGC will be in attendance. BOF new publications. Today, as part of the product of our transformational agenda, 3 publications will be launched, viz. BOF bylaws 2023 as amended, which incorporates all the innovations introduced by our administration, and resource hub, serving as a one-stop shop for all BOF matters. Compilation of BOF chairman's addresses at various fora from 2022 to 2025. And memoranda of the board in the last 3 years. This publication captured all the innovations introduced in the last 3 years. In the last 3 years. With the foundation laid by the two previous administrations, we have now traversed the symbolic 3 points of the triangle: thesis, antithesis, and the synthesis, thus putting the BOF administration on a very solid foundation. Constitutional amendments at muscling the BOF bylaws. The BOF bylaws and the instruments setting up the board in Sokoto. Please, if you don't want to listen, you have the right to go out. You don't want people to be moving around. It is not a disrespect for me. It is a disrespect for the office of the chairman of the Board of Fellows. BOF bylaws and instruments setting up the board in Sokoto at the 2015 AGM was painstakingly crafted by the committee saddled with the task, and the provisions were in line with the traditions of our institution. The autonomy of the board and the provisions for its leadership, financial, administrative setup, and duties of the board were clearly set in the bylaws. However, since 2015, some clauses have been altering the administrative setup of the BOF have been smuggled into the NIS constitution by the institution's leadership without the consent of the board nor the AGM. One of them, the chairmanship of the BOF. One of such clauses stipulates that the chairman of the BOF shall be a president of the NIS or a fellow with at least 15 years membership of the board. Whereas the original bylaw makes provision for the board chairman to be elected only among the past presidents. The provision for a fellow with 15 years membership to compete with past presidents is outrightly against the tradition of our great institution. Matter formed the idea, what informed the idea. Some of these traditions are: 1, you cannot vote or be voted for at the state and national level unless you are a full member of NIS. 2, at the state branch levels or subgroup level, you cannot be a chairman when a fellow is available and is qualified to serve. One of the privileges of fellows circulated to the state branches is that a fellow of the institution has the first right of refusal, chairmanship of the state branch or the subgroup. When the committee is set up, the most senior member of the committee automatically the chairman of the committee. The offices of Mr. President, Deputy President, and the Vice President of the institution are reserved for fellows of the institution. Last but not the least, when a past president is a member of a committee, he is automatically the chairman of the committee. With the above reasons given, therefore, making a constitutional provision for a fellow who is not a past president to be eligible for the chairmanship of BBOF is breaking away from the institution's tradition and the hierarchical setup. The clause should be expunged from the NIS constitution. 3.2. Subjecting the NIS Council never had any oversight functions on the board, even when the board was under the chairmanship of the president of the institution before becoming semi-autonomous. Therefore, these constitutional provisions, to me, should be null and void. Institutional provision, institutional and professional development. Distinguished fellows, we need to bridge the gap between the present and the past. There is currently a screaming disconnect of a significant number of surveyors from the institution's past. Many members, sadly, including the leadership, do not have a good grasp of the institution's past history. A good knowledge of the institution's history provides useful insights into the struggles and sacrifices of the founding fathers in nurturing and handling over, without regional sentiments, strong, varied, united, and formidable institution to the succeeding generations, thus providing current leadership the motivation for adding building blocks of excellence to the institution's solid foundation laid by our founding fathers. Hence, the saying, popularized by iconic late pastor Adekunle Kukoyi, that says, and I quote, "The present must continually consult with the past to shape the present and to plan the future." Dear fellows of our great institution, how many of us fellows, the conscience and custodian of the culture of our institution, especially those presenting themselves for elective offices, have personal copies of the history of the institution of the Nigerian Institute of Surveyors, 1934 to 2020? And if we do not know how selflessly the founding fathers built the NIS, and handed a VARA institution to us, how can we serve her selflessly? How can we claim to be the conscience of the institution and the custodian of our traditions? That is the bane of our current situation. We have copies of the history of NIS gathering dust at the National Secretariat. Yet, you cannot find them in the libraries of institutions offering surveying and geoinformatics courses, state and national libraries, secretariats of sister professional bodies, offices of the state surveyor generals and SDOF, etc., etc. To correct these anomalies, we recommend as follows. All candidates being elevated to full membership of NIS must produce personal copies of history of NIS and demonstrate a knowledge of the history of institutions' history. Two, to become a fellow, a candidate must pass a written examination on the history of NIS. You have escaped it. Finally, to promote the institution and the profession, all departments of surveying and geoinformatics in tertiary institution, secretariats of sister professional bodies, state and national libraries, and the relevant past, all of them should be supplied with copies of the history of the NIS. That is the only way people can know about us. Many people come to address us and they say that we are dark horses. We don't know, they don't know us. How can they know us when we have documents that can project us and yet we are keeping them with us? The post of deputy president, making the office relevant. At the NIS AGMN conference in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, in 1997, far-reaching constitutional changes were introduced and adopted on the floor of the House. The position of deputy president and 2 vice presidents were introduced for the purposes of smooth transition and continuity in administration. That is to protecting institutional memories and knowledge, ensuring policy consistency and continuity in executing the institution's agenda. By this arrangement, the deputy president is elected 2 years before he or she assumes office to learn on the job and automatically become president after the tenure of the incumbent president. We have experimented with this innovation for over 25 years and it has not worked. Listen. Rather than the president and the deputy president working harmoniously for the good of the institution. They are always at loggerhead. Creating acrimony and rancor between the president and the deputy president. Instead of harmoniously working together, the message from the president to the deputy is wait for your turn, defeating the purpose for which the post was created. This must change. The first instinct will be to recommend a discontinuation of this innovation. However, it may be more rewarding to recommend the transition and taking over retreat concept introduced by the board ESCO to the NIS. At this transition meeting, which some elders of the profession should be invited, formal handing over to the new executive committee by the outgoing executive will take place. In addition, the new executive committee will be properly briefed on the philosophy of the administrative arrangements in the NIS constitution and why they should make it work for the purposes of good governance and transparency, smooth transition of administration, and the realization of goals of the institution. Emphasis will be laid on the need for a symbiotic relationship between the president and the deputy president in the overall interest of our institution. Institutional development agenda and policy trust. One of the major issues in the adoption of the NIS is lack of clear AGM mandate on institutional development agenda policy trust. Such a mandate, when articulated and adopted by the AGM, will be made mandatory for execution by each succeeding administration. What obtained now is that each administration is left to execute programs that appeals to its fancy. 2 years is too short for a period to initiate a meaningful project and execute it to a conclusion without continuity. Institutionalizing a development agenda for the institution initiated by the founding fathers since 1966 is long overdue. It is time to act. The 1966 agenda has been expanded and presented as policy trust for the institution by the leadership of the institution in many fora, but with little attention paid to their implementation. We suggest that the BOF takes a position on this, present same for adoption at the forthcoming NIS AGM, and make it mandatory for incoming and successive administration administration to implement. Some of the items on the agenda, not in any order of priority, are a regulatory body that is essentially controlled by the institution. Separation of the surveying contents of engineering projects. Of engineering projects. Making the surveyor a member of the consortium in the procurement of public works in Nigeria. Today, procurement of public works, surveyors are not mentioned, and once you are not mentioned, you cannot participate. So engineers take the surveying content and they execute. We should push and ensure that we become member of that particular body. The review of the Survey Coordination Act, review of the Land Use Act, adoption of a surveying and geoinformation policy, establishment of mapping policy for the country, systematic land titling nationwide. Lastly, but not the least, establishment of Ministry of Surveying and Geoinformatics. Perhaps our concerted effort in pushing the establishment of Ministry of Surveying, Ministry for Surveying and Geoinformatics will be a panacea for attaining the age-long lofty agenda for the profession as dreamed by the founding fathers. The feat is achievable if we resolutely put our hearts and resources into it. Now we have the wherewithal, and we must put our money where it will give us the best benefit. BOF as agent of change. Dear colleagues, fellows of the Nigerian Institution of Surveyors, distinguished members of the BOF, we must assume our role. We must fully assume our role as agent of change for the profession. B, the think tank drive the transformational agenda, inspire and encourage the leadership of the profession, 60% of who are from the Board of Fellows, to work diligently in the interest of the profession. But this can only be achieved if we as individual fellows are ready to be the change agent by facilitating, driving, championing, thinking out of the box, implementing the change espoused by the board. The change that we want must start with us. Concluding remarks. Distinguished fellows of our great institution, on behalf of the Executive Committee, I sincerely thank you all for the confidence reposed in our administration since inception. Your unalloyed support for our administration, for our transformational agenda, had encouraged, inspired, and motivated us to serve the board with sustained dedication, resulting in a few innovations we are leaving behind. My sincere gratitude goes to the members of the Executive Committee for their tireless service to the board in the last 3 years. Their dedication and teamwork made our modest achievements in office possible. Being on the Executive Committee and serving on any committee of the BOF and NIS should be seen as an opportunity to render selfless service to the board and our institution for the progress and image of our profession, and indeed the good name and prosperity of its members. These have been amply demonstrated by the outgoing Executive Committee of the BOF. My special mention must be made of Surveyor Mohammed Nasir Umar, FNIS, FIMC, CMA, an ex-official member of the ESCO, a proficient, productive resource person who has placed his administrative skills in the service of the board. An epitome of institutional memory, he has been an asset to our administration. Having served on the committee that produced the instrument setting up the BOF, and in the executive committees of all the board since inception, we thank you for your services. In closing my address to you, distinguished members of the board, for the last time, chairman of the board, I do so with every sense of humility, joy, gratitude, joy and gratitude. I am immensely grateful to the institution, the board, and our members that are giving me the rare opportunity of serving her in many capacities since 1986. Indeed, It is with the same unwavering dedication that I committed myself to serving the institution in the past offices held, that I also serve as the board chairman to achieve the modest successes recorded by our administration. It has been a great pleasure serving you and moving the board forward in our own little ways. The whole of human existence is all about rendering service in one sphere of life or the other. The joy of service is ineffable, especially if rendered selflessly. The kernel of service is beautifully expressed in the following words of a Sufi poet, Khalil Gibran, 1983 to 1990. And I quote, "And dreamed that life is all joy. I woke and saw that life is all service." I served and saw that service is joy. I thank you all once again for the great opportunity given to us to serve the esteemed board of fellows and our great institution. And our great institution, the Nigerian Institute of Surveyors. Long live the Board of Fellows. Long live the Nigerian Institute of Surveyors. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you all for your attention, and may God bless you.